We are live here for the Fantasy Six-Pack Hour on Thursday night. Joe, not here. Just me and AJ. Joe, I'm supposed to make fun of AJ, but if Joe's gone, we're sweating the deadline. He's sweating on whether or not to reapply sunscreen. So he gets made fun of, not AJ tonight, because if you're not here, you lose, man.
The Fantasy Six-Pack Hour with your hosts, Joe Bob and AJ Appleton.
Touchdown!
Welcome to the Fantasy Six-Pack Hour. Just me and AJ tonight, holding down. Joe did submit some answers, so we'll talk about some of his answers later if anybody actually cares. But just an AMA tonight. We got some basically some mailbag stuff to go over here. But first, AJ, how you been, my friend?
Doing well. Decided to get rid of all of this. So the beginning little ad there does not look like me anymore. It looks like the aged version of me.
You look so much younger. The second they sat down, I was like, man, you look like a completely different man. Like since the first time I met you without a beard here, I think.
It might be. It's been a while since I've taken it. This is about all the way down as I get, because I don't like full on razor, slick shaves or whatever you want to call them.
Got to get ready for football season, man.
That's right. I'm starting a new playoff beard. Do you have the game on? Yes.
Yeah,
I'm watching a curling commercial with Ray Romano, it looks like, and the Olympics. Yeah.
Good old preseason
I didn't even know the Olympics were coming up again, but sure. Makes sense.
Is it a summer one? It can't be a summer. Is it a summer one already?
No, it was winter.
Oh, winter Olympics. Okay.
I guess it's next year. Yeah.
Well, we
don't talk fantasy Olympics, so
that's true. No fantasy Olympics here, but Trey Lance ripping it up. Couple TDs in that game. That's about as much as I saw. I have not been. It's been on in the background. I have not been watching it closely, but
yeah. I just popped it on once I got down here.
Yeah.
So,
before we jump in here tonight, be sure to head over to fantasy6pack.net. First off, follow the show on YouTube, subscribe, follow us on the podcast version too. But then jump over fantasy6pack.net, become an all-access member, use the code F6PPods. You will get access to all the tools, the cheat sheets, betting advice, all the rankings. Joe's got his rankings in there, all the content articles for baseball, football, golf. You can see it all. Just join up. Use F6PPods. It's scrolling along the bottom there. You can get 15% off. That's fantasy6pack.net/plans. And so just to reiterate here, Joe, before he went on vacation, sent out the bat signal on Reddit and asked for basically questions from anyone, a little bit of an AMA. He answered them over there. We're taking some over here. We're going to go over, 10-ish questions and answer a little bit of news. AJ, you want to take the first one?
Yeah, let's do it. So first question we got up here that was asked of our fearless leader, or whatever you want to call him, quality ranker, we'll say. First question: who is the lowest tight end and lowest quarterback you would be comfortable drafting in a one quarterback non-tight end premium PPR league? So Joe's answer for this was, lowest quarterback, he's looking at either JJ McCarthy or CJ Stroud. It's big on the initials, probably why I'm still his co-host. And tight end, he was looking at Zach Ertz and Brenton Strange, I believe.
So I think there's...
What are you thinking?
I think there's a couple ways you can look at this, right? So like lowest tight end and quarterback that I'm comfortable drafting, or that I'm comfortable drafting and starting, because I can go pretty late in the pool and draft one of these guys if I'm waiting until the end. So if it's just comfortable drafting, You can all laugh at me, but it's Anthony Richardson. I will draft Anthony Richardson in the last round. I know that it's been unbelievably disappointing. I know he can't throw the ball. I also know that if he plays 16 games with the rushing upside he offers, he's going to come out as a top 15 quarterback, and you can get him much later than that. So I will draft Anthony Richardson, but if I'm not going to start him week 1, I'm not drafting and starting him. Drafting and starting, it's JJ McCarthy for me, which is pretty much in that same range that Joe was talking about. I love all the passing volume that the Vikings offer. Everything you hear is good. We know how if both Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson are going to deliver on their high ADPs, JJ McCarthy is going to help them get there. So that's the one I want to draft and start. At tight end, the last one I'll draft is Chigoziem Okonkwo with Tennessee. And I rarely am doing that unless it's a pretty deep league. But like drafting and starting, he mentioned Brenton Strange. That's one of the two. And then I mentioned Kyle Pitts when we were doing sleepers a few weeks ago. I don't think it can get much worse. And even in his bad year last year, he was a top 12 tight end with 600 yards receiving. So those are the two, like drafting and starting, JJ McCarthy, Kyle Pitts. I will go later and draft Anthony Richardson and Chig Okonkwo, but I don't really want to start them right away.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Like, and I kind of like felt similar, you know, when I was reading through these questions when you had added them to the sheet earlier this week, and I was like, well, some of these could go this way, or did they mean this way? So we'll highlight those as we're going through, or try to at least. But yeah, I agree with you. Like the way we want to look at this is if we're just drafting guys versus if we're starting them. I mean, for me, quarterback, I'm probably right around that same range, maybe like a Trevor Lawrence, possibly Jordan Love, you know, but then Matt Stafford's kind of right down there too. I don't love him as a QB1, but I don't hate him either. I think he's going to be solid. He's got, such good weapons, and he's always consistent. So I think Stafford might be the lowest I would be willing to go, starting wise. Drafting wise, I mean, hell, I would go all the way down to maybe Geno as a bench quarterback. Looking at Geno, why not Aaron Rodgers? See where he's at. They're both a little bit higher than Richardson. And hell, you even got Russell Wilson down there. So draft wise, there's a lot of options for your second quarterback. It really would come down to like who you're comfortable starting. So for me, it's in that JJ McCarthy, Stroud, Stafford kind of range. Tight end wise, I definitely like Ertz. I'm off of Pitts. Isaiah Likely is talented, but he's inconsistent. He kind of gets, he has games where he's good and then he disappears for 3 weeks. So these guys, I would definitely look at drafting. Of them, Ertz would be the one I would actually start. And then even Cade Otton is down there. I wouldn't be afraid to stash him if I was able to go after, one of these top tier guys, and Bowers, McBride, Kittle, Hawkinson, Laporta, any of those top 5. If I get one of those, I'm not even touching tight end till the end of the draft. And then whoever I get is a bye week fill in. And then that's it, especially in a non-tight end premium. Like, you don't have to reach on these guys. So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I like some of your takes here. So in the comments tonight, I am not going to as good as Joe at this, but Jamie, Albert, you guys are both here. Jamie, where's Joe's face? He's kicking back on a beach somewhere, and we are holding down the fort without him. Now, some of your actual football takes. Stafford and Ferguson. AJ mentioned Stafford. We like Stafford. Terrence Ferguson, I like. I just want to know how that shakes out with Tyler Higbee. And then this one. Did you hear that J.J. McCarthy take? I did not hear your take, but I do agree that he could be in top 10. It wouldn't shock me. Sam Darnold was a top 10 last year on that same offense, and J.J. McCarthy's I think he's a better passer than Sam Darnold. So yeah, I'm sneaky top 10. I'm good with that.
Yeah, I mean, you still have J.J. on the outside and Addison. You got Hawk healthy again. Again, lots of weapons to rely on as a basically rookie quarterback since he didn't play last year. I think he could easily maybe not easily. He could be a top 12 QB for sure.
And you can get him later than that. We're going to go to question 2 here, and which was of the tier 2 rookie running backs. So basically take out or count every rookie running back but Ashton Jeanty, who's going in the first round. Who is going to bust out? Joe answered it with who he thinks is going to explode. And it looks like you thought maybe it was bust, but I guess we're going to go with who's going to bust out and deliver more value than we thought. That's why we're drafting him here. Joe went with my guy, Caleb Johnson. I've been big on Caleb Johnson for a while here. I think he's got I think he's got a clear workload. That's what I like about him. But AJ, who do you see as a rookie running back other than Ashton Jeanty that you think is going to bust out?
Well, yeah. So this was the question that I read, like we were talking about. Did this guy bust out, as in this guy's going to suck, or whatever, or a breakout? So for me, if I'm looking at the rookies, I mean, any of them after GT could easily bust. Rookies in general have to acclimate to the league, the new rules and new teams, faster defenses. So I wouldn't be surprised if any of them just didn't make the cut. But of the ones who I would think could break out, I do like a Marion Hampton. Najee's starting on the pup, so he's going to have maybe a little more freedom to get earlier reps in the early season. So I think he could actually, if he can take the reins with that and kind of establish himself, then, when Najee comes back, Najee could just be more of a, change of pace guy or more looked at in the passing game. So I personally like Hampton.
Yeah, that's a good pick. That is a good pick. I will go with Cam Skattebo for the Giants just because I am not entirely sure how the Giants want to divvy up their carries here. I liked what we saw to Tyrone Tracy last year. He delivered when the late draft capital, and then you got him late in drafts and went out and had an 1,100-yard season. So he looked good last year, but I do think these two can operate together. I think we're going to get plenty of carries out of both of them, plenty of work out of both of them. And, I think even though Russell Wilson's there, I think this team wants to try to run the ball. They put some money towards the offensive line. We get some carries out of both of them, and I think they can both sustain fantasy value. There's some later guys I also like you just keep hearing more and more about Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt with Washington. Now, I don't like that's a last round throw a complete dart at something there, but there's some good reports out of that. And then Woody Marks with the injury to Joe Mixon right now. I still don't know what Nick Chubb has left. I don't know. So Woody Marks, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, those are later guys that I'm willing to take a chance on. But if I had to go towards the upper tier, I like your Marion Hampton, of course, and I like Cam Skattebo too. Yeah,
I love Skattebo. I think he's going to be a stud. Just watching him through the end of the college year and the college football playoff, he's just a wrecking ball, man. He reminds me of a young Mike Allstott, or even maybe a John Ritchie, but he just don't care, plow into everybody and just keep getting yards and yards and yards. So definitely like those picks. All right, so the next one we have up here is, would you rather build your team starting running back, or wide receiver, based on this season's board? Joe put that he would go wide receiver. What are you thinking? Are you in agreement with that, or would you switch?
So when I first saw this question, I assumed that I would answer wide receiver. I think a lot depends on where I'm situated in the draft, right? If I have a mid-range pick, it's probably wide receiver. I actually kind of like the back 3 picks, and then it's probably running back. I just pulled up the top 24 by ADP. There's 1 quarterback in there and 2 tight ends, but there's 11 receivers in the top 24 and only 10 running backs. So, but if I could start, say I'm pick 7, 8 and get like an Ashton Jeanty, and my love for HN. I know you don't love him, but that's fine. But like if I could start with that, I'd be all over it. But for receiver, if I have an early pick, I'm probably just going like, if I had one, I'd be happy going Jamar Chase and Jackson Smith and Jigbar guys I like, something like that. So I think a lot of it just depends where I am. Honestly, most of the time, I'm probably going to take one of both. That's the real way I'm going to go with it. So do you have a thought one way or the other?
Yeah, my initial thought on this, again, seeing Joe's at wide receiver, and yours as well, I was automatically going to go running back. But that's actually how I feel more times than not. And even if I'm drafting earlier, like maybe like 3 to 6 range, I feel like I would rather try to get a running back there, like maybe go after a Gibbs. After him, it kind of falls off ADP wise all the way down to Derrick Henry. So I agree with the sentiment of it. Obviously, it depends on where you're drafting. But if I'm starting off number 1, I'm happy with either Chase or Bijan. I don't know if I'd be ballsy enough to go after Gibbs as number 1. Bijan's just too good. So those two is what I'd be looking at. And then it really just depends on how the board falls to me. But I would lean running back, just because of the drop off that you're going to see from starting backs to your next tiers down. Yeah.
The questions are piling up here tonight. It's because Joe's not here, so I'm trying to watch him.
Yeah.
Would you rather have Marvin Harrison Jr. or Zay Flowers? I can answer this one quickly. Go back. AJ was not here. Was it last week you were in here? 2 weeks ago you weren't here. And so Joe and I...
2 weeks.
Joe and I went through all of the top 10 rounds in ADP. And like Zay Flowers was one player I said I'm avoiding at his ADP. I just don't think he's that good. He's so erratic. You get these weeks where you're like, oh, he had 7 catches for 130 yards and 2 TDs. Yeah. And then you get half the season, he's catching 2 balls for 20 yards a week. I would much rather have Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah. At the ADP cost, I mean, Harrison is creeping up, early 4th right now, is what I'm seeing online here on Fantasy Pros. Flowers is all the way down at 59, so he's borderline 5th round. I do agree that he is erratic, though, so I would probably lean Harrison. Again, it might depend on my draft build, but I love Zay Flowers, but I don't know. If this was MHJ or Zay Jones, I mean, then it's easy.
Then it's a little more obvious. We
Zay
have Zay Jones, of course. Jamie, in a scenario where Kyron has a season-ending injury, week 1, God forbid that happens, can Jacquez Hunter be a top 12 RB? I would lean no. They still have Blake Corum there as well, and so I'm not entirely sure that I like Jacquez Hunter more than Blake Corum. And I think that if Kyron Williams went down, I think they just honestly have to throw the ball more. I would trust Matt Stafford to get the ball to Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua a little more in that case if I was McVay. So I'm kind of a Jacquez Hunter hater though too. So not my guy.
Yeah, I don't think so. Kyron's good, but again, I'm not a huge fan on him either because of the other weapons that Stafford has in that receiving core, and he's going to be slinging the ball around. Kyron's still going to get his touches, but if he goes down,
I don't think anybody just steps in and replaces Kyron Williams' workload, right? No one's.
I think it's just going to be a committee approach until they figure something out or they trade for somebody.
One more question here from Big Rice Ball. Nice to meet you. What's up, guys? In a 16-team Superflex PPR Dynasty startup, he is on the clock with the 302. He already has drafted. Oh, he must have made some trades. Okay, so we made some trades. So he's already got Hurts, Puka, Mahomes, Drake May, and Caleb Williams are still on the board. He is trying to decide whether or not he should take a third quarterback right away or grab Breece Hall. I mean, in a Superflex league, yeah, you already have Hurts and Mahomes, but I'm probably just taking Drake May and Caleb Williams and shorting the position and saying, someone, if you really want them, come get one of them. Like,
yeah, I mean, the worst thing that can happen is you have great depth and somebody has injuries,
yeah. And then you get then you just charge them to high heaven
Yeah.
and see what you can get out of them. So yeah, I'm probably taking a quarterback. I would take Drake May, but I'm not going to just say Drake May is so much better than Caleb Williams. If you like Caleb Williams, go get Caleb Williams. But
yeah, I mean, they're fairly comparable, I think. Both have a solid stud receiver and then some guys behind them. So yeah.
Okay. On to the next question here. It is, what's the lowest quarterback you consider quote unquote elite? And then what are some wild card late round picks? And do you think that are being underestimated? So we're looking at the quarterback position here. Joe has his list of elite quarterbacks, and I think we're probably all going to be pretty similar on this. He has Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, and Jalen Hurts as his elite quarterback tier. And then some later round guys that he thinks are being underestimated. We've talked about these guys a lot. CJ Stroud and Trevor Lawrence. I think they were both in our sleepers. Different. You did Stroud. I think I did Lawrence. Joe just copied us because he doesn't think for himself. But AJ, who's your elite tier? And do you have anybody else you want to talk about in the later rounds?
Yeah, my elite tier is the same. It's Allen, it's Jackson, it's Hurts, it's Burrow. Mahomes has fallen out of it for now. It's hard to keep him out of that top tier, but he's kind of a 1A for me right now. As far as, wild cards, again, I mean, hell, the biggest wild card in the league is Aaron Rodgers. You don't know what he's going to put up. He tends to be a one receiver target guy. They have DK Metcalf there. So he could be, a very interesting wild card. And honestly, I think I don't want to keep, going back to names I've already said, but, Bryce Young, I mean, I don't think he's necessarily like a deep pick. But again, I think he's young, he's talented. He's got some new weapons there as well. Their defense is still suspect, so you got to worry about that some. But at the same tone, if your defense is suspect, then your offense, may be on the field a more amount because the defense just gets burned, immediately. So I would say I like Young this year.
Yeah, I like Bryce Young. For the elite tier, the names that Joe mentioned, the Allen, Lamar, Daniels, and Hurts, I do include Joe Burrow. I actually have Joe Burrow ahead of Jalen Hurts in there for a lot of the reasons you just talked about. A bad defense in Cincinnati. It's going to stay bad. He is going to he is easily, if he's not injured, going to lead the league in pass attempts again with the receivers he has. I know there's no rushing upside like the other four offer. If he's going to throw the ball 35 to 40 times a game and probably like 60 more pass attempts than anybody else this season, it doesn't matter if he doesn't run the ball. So I have him ahead of Jalen Hurts on that list and like pretty close to Jaden Daniels, actually. You talked about a former first overall pick. I'll talk about this year's first overall pick for my late, underestimated quarterback, and it's Cam Ward. There's rushing upside in Cam Ward that I don't think is being appreciated. I know that people hate the landing spot in Tennessee. I just don't. I think that we're clearly going to get him starting. This is the same coordinator who worked with Joe Burrow and has thrown the ball a lot. I think there's a lot of upside here. Do I expect him to hit the ground running and throw the ball over the field? No, but he doesn't have completely worthless pass catchers either. Like Calvin Ridley is better than anything that Bryce Young had until they drafted Ted McMillan, right? So he's got some weapons. He can run. I'm fine shooting for upside in the later draft. If you're going to go with Cam Ward, would be the one I'll talk about here. Yeah,
definitely like Ward. He would fall in that range for me too, but I saw you had him down, so I wanted to pick someone else. We like to share things around here, especially when Joe's gone. We share the spotlight because he just tries to hog it all the time.
That's
right. So, all right. Next question up here we have coming at you is, if I can get the screen right here. Who are your guys this season? The players that you find yourself, quote unquote, reaching for a little before the consensus to ensure that you leave most drafts with those guys. That's fairly common, question that we see here, and a good one. So Joe's guys this year are, DeAndre Swift. He got Pacheco, Chase Brown, and he also has Jacoby Myers down as more of a later round guy, I would say. So that's where Joe's sitting. What do you like, and who are you leaving your drafts with, no matter what?
I like Joe's Swift. I do like the value that Swift is. I already talked about Scadaboo a little bit. I like to get him because I think there's RB. I think he could finish as a top 15 RB, and that really wouldn't surprise me. Towards the top end, if I get a late first-round pick, I will take Devon Achane at the back of the first round. So I get him a lot if I'm picking like 7 to 11, because a lot of times he slips into the second round, and I'll take him in that range. In the mid-rounds, it's Tet McMillan. They did not trade up into the top 10 to not get the 6'5", 22-year-old wide receiver who runs like a gazelle a lot of targets. So I think he's going to get 140 targets as a rookie here, and I think Bryce Young is good enough that he's going to catch a minimum 85 of those. And so I like taking Tet McMillan in that range because I just think his target volume, some of the players that are going around him, I'm not as locked in on that. It's him and Jalen Waddle that fall in that range. We'll talk about him later, but I worry about Xavier Worthy. I don't know who's going to get the ball there, whether or not Rashee Rice is there or not. Travis Kelce, I just don't think he's getting the ball. And George Pickens is now the number 2 option, and I won't touch Chris Olave. So that's where I find myself getting a lot of Tet McMillan. And then towards the 10th-ish round of drafts, I just take Jordan Mason. Everything we're hearing now is that it's going to be a pretty tight split in Minnesota. They want to try to limit Aaron Jones. So I think we could get a 60-40 split, and there's going to be we talked about him already. There's going to be a lot of scoring in Minnesota. I think Jordan Mason can be pretty valuable. So I find myself reaching to make sure I get Jordan Mason. If Aaron Jones were to go down, I think he's he could be a top 10 back in Minnesota, because that's just the way they use him. But even if Aaron Jones is there, I think you could flex him some weeks, something like we talked about last week with Rachaad White, something like that. So I like Jordan Mason. Do you have some of your guys?
Yeah, I typically do every year. One guy who's been my guy for a couple of years now is Nico Collins. Obviously, I'm probably having to get him in my first round slot, if not way early second. So, he's got an expensive cost, but he's shown he deserves it. He's just a ball hawk. He gets the targets. He gets the catches. He is CJ Stroud's guy, so he is my guy. I love Nico and will forever, I feel like. So he's definitely my early go-to guy. Mid-tier, mid-rounds, after that, I'm not really touching Breece Hall. I like Kenneth Walker, but consistency worries me, and Charbonnet there. I would be targeting Kamara, depending on my build, right around that 40, 43, in that range. I would not have a problem reaching for him towards the end of the third, if he's still sitting there. I like Kamara's, he's just always getting plays. He's a ball hawk too. He gets the receptions. He's going to have, great games. Even though New Orleans kind of sucks, he's their main guy. And like you said, Chris Olave, I want nothing to do with him. So if I'm taking a Saint, it's going to be Saint Kamara. Looking a little deeper here. Honestly, if I'm waiting on quarterback, but I'm kind of letting those elite guys go, but then kind of want that next tier, I like Bo Nix a lot this year. He came on really strong last year as a rookie. I don't see why he can't do that again. He's got lots of help in the running game there. And his receivers are still solid. Sutton, I believe, just got locked up for a long contract. So, he's safe and secure, and Nix is going to be there for a few years. So I like their rapport and their relationship continuing to grow. So that's kind of the guys I'm mostly looking at. I don't know if there's really anybody super late that I feel like I need to make sure I get, unless it's like a handcuff or something like that.
Sure. Well, I love the Kamara call out. I mentioned him a couple weeks ago too. I like the value on Kamara, especially in any type of like half or full PPR league, which you should be playing if you're not going to play one of those, because just the value with all the touches he gets via the passing game is so valuable here. So some more comments. Why am I the only Rachaad White is going nowhere truther left that thinks Bucky Irving hype is stupid? Well, I mentioned Rachaad White last week, so go listen to last week's show. I like Rachaad White's value. I think you were with me too. I think we kind of liked Rachaad White's value. Jamie's grabbing Jordan Mason tons of leagues. He also doesn't draft Bucky where he's going because give him Taylor or Jacobs over Bucky Irving. Well, we're going to talk about Jonathon Taylor in a second here, so we'll leave that one. And looks like we got one more question here. Second pick in a 12-team PPR. If Jamar Chase goes first, should I take Bijan? Did you see that he switched his name? It's like Bijan now.
I did.
Or take CD or Jefferson and then get an RB in the second. Maybe even 2 RBs, given there are RB1 potentials in the second, third round. Well, I think Jamar Chase likely is going first, right? And then, I just don't overthink it, my friend, is what I would tell you. If you like Bijan, take Bijan. If you like CeeDee Lamb, take CeeDee Lamb. If you like Justin Jefferson, take him. I think all those guys are in a tier, and you can throw Saquon in there, whichever one you like the most. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong on any of those.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. If I had to look at it, I would, again, take Bijan first. No questions asked. Jefferson, I'd be fine going after if you want to lock up a receiver instead. I can't draft CD. I know he's talented, but it just goes against my principles. So I would take Gibbs over him, especially in full PPR. But that's just me. So
typically, if I had that pick, I'm taking Bijan, and then in the second round, I'm probably taking like a JSN or a Josh Jacobs, and then I'd love to get Trey McBride if he's sitting there at the beginning of the third round, which he is sometimes. But, I could easily go Justin Jefferson too right away, like you said, especially that's a PPR league. Justin Jefferson's about as safe as it gets for 110 catches. So it's really hard. You go read the draft slot. I wrote pick 2. Go read that. That has 3 different strategies for you. That would be my advice to you there, Jay. On to the next one here. And this is the Jonathon Taylor question that Joe answered and that we are going to answer now. Someone wrote, I read so many, quote, players to avoid and players to draft articles. Okay, well, I hope you're out of my fantasy 6-pack. He's never once seen Jonathon Taylor's name. Is he just that boring of a discussion piece? Where are we drafting him at PPR? Joe just said that he is fairly valued in the second round. And, well, I guess let's hear what you have to say, AJ. What is your thoughts on Jonathon Taylor?
That's all I said. Fairly valued. Great insight, Joe. We love it.
Thank you,
we
Joe.
love it from you. Per usual. Just busting your balls. I'm sure you're going to be listening and probably throwing things at your computer with us making fun of you the whole show. But that's what happens when you leave, because I know that's what happens when I leave. Anyway, I like Taylor. I think he's a guy at this point. For going after him in the second, I don't know if I can trust him as my number one, running back at this point. He is going to get the volume though, so you know that's there. So that helps. But I don't know. I just think he's a decent value. But to me, I don't know if I'd be comfortable with him as my RB1. What do you think?
I'm fine with it, but I also I wouldn't go running back. If I started with Jonathon Taylor in the second round, I would want to make sure I have another running back in the first 3 rounds. So I'm probably, let's say I start with you talked about Nico Collins, and then I get Jonathon Taylor in the second round. I'm probably looking then back at running back at the end of round 3, just because I know when he's on the field, he's going to be awesome, right? 1,400 yards rushing last year, 11 touchdowns. But I also know that I'm probably getting 3-4 games on the injured list because they can say all they want that they want to try to limit his workload, and they drafted DJ Giddens. I love DJ Giddens. He's another rookie I like, but he's not Jonathon Taylor. Like, we hear this all the time. Like, they want to limit Christian McCaffrey's workload until, oh wait, Christian McCaffrey's way better than their other running backs, right? And that's what I think the case will be here. I think Jonathon Taylor's good, but I just want to make sure that I have to have the unreliable offense that the Colts offer with the quarterbacks they have scares me, and the injury concern scares me. But like, I think in the second round, if you get him early to mid-second round, I think it's fine. I think that's kind of where you want to get him. I wouldn't reach into the first round to get Jonathon Taylor. Like, I have, Achane ahead of him, we talked about already, and some of that type of stuff, who I can usually get ahead of later than him. But I think he's fine if unspectacular type of a thing, something like that.
Yeah, that works. Yeah, I mean, and I following up what I said, yeah, I like the idea and probably would. If I were going to make him my RB1, I agree that I would definitely be searching for my RB2 within the next 1 to 2 rounds. And that's assuming I locked up a stud receiver with one of the first round picks there. Okay, so the next question we have here is that Joe mentioned earlier that he liked some running backs late. Can you name some that you like and why you like them? So kind of touched on some of these guys, I feel like, earlier, but Joe's answers were, DeAndre Swift, Cam Scatteraboo, and Isaac Guerendo, with more, whatever that says. So I guess there was other names he liked, but that's kind of where he's at. So who are the guys that you like running back wise later on in the drafts?
Yeah, I get a lot of Guerendo too because of the concerns that I have with McCaffrey. So I do get Guerendo a lot. We talked about Rachaad White already. I get Rachaad White. I just think that he has been completely discounted and just thrown off the face of the planet when he still was pretty usable for big chunks of the season last year. And I don't think that's going to change. I don't think Bucky Irving suddenly taking, a Christian McCaffrey 20 touch-up workload. I don't think that's going to change. So I still think there's going to be plenty of weeks where you get 10 carries and 3-4 catches out of Rachaad White, and you can get him pretty late, especially in a PPR league. Dylan Sampson we have to talk about Dylan Sampson. We still have not gotten any updates on Quinshon Judkins. And so as longer that goes on, the more a non-signed rookie is not at practice, the more I'm more interested in the rookie who's actually there, who I can get very late for the chance of being an RB1. Now, I don't know how good the Cleveland Browns offense is going to be again. I don't think it'll be very good. Jerome Ford was there last year, and it was perfectly mid all season. So I don't know how good he's going to be, but if I can get a late RB1, I will take that most of the time. And then I said just really late, my last pick. Right now I'm taking a lot of Woody Marks with the last pick in drafts just because if that Joe Mixon's injured, I don't trust the health of Nick Chubb, and so I'll take a chance on Woody Marks late. Look at this guy in the chat here. Oh, boy. Who is the beardless man on the right? Because you're not here, he had to make himself look good. We need someone else to be the face of the show here. It's not me.
I mean, this is what happens when you leave, Joe. You reduce me to stubble on the face, and this is all your fault, regardless of what I may have said earlier. Welcome to the show. Glad you could join us. All right, so running backs for me, late running backs. I mean, I don't even know. Like, Eckler is a guy that I kind of like really late. I like Brian Robinson Jr. too, but I feel like he's more built for rushing than passing. He can get receptions, but Eckler, that's his bread and butter. I mean, he's going to be the receiving back. So in any kind of half or full PPR leagues, I'm definitely looking at trying to snake Eckler where I can. Right behind him is J.K. Dobbins with Denver. he finally had a healthy year, almost all year last year, and we saw what he could do in high-powered, rush-happy offense. So I don't see why he can't repeat, at least 80% of that success again this year, assuming health, if not more. I already talked about Knicks and the receivers there, so I just think this is going to be a balanced offense under Peyton, and Dobbins is going to flourish in that again. So those are two guys I like. I could get on board with the Roschon Johnson, and honestly, right now, maybe take a flyer on Nick Chubb because of the Mixon injury. But his injury concerns obviously are there too. So if I'm taking Nick Chubb, it's more of a complete dart throw flyer at this point, in hopes that Mixon, is out for a handful of weeks.
Yeah, I think he's gonna be out too. I don't know. There's not a lot of updates there at all. Let's see what else we got in the comments. Jamie, I know exactly how good the Browns offense is going to be under 2.5 wins. You're like the biggest hater of your own team, my friend. Chad, can Simpson beat out Ford though? Feels like ceiling is 1B and a bad offense. I mean, that's very true. Like, I don't know if he'll beat out Ford. I think he's better than Ford. I do think he's better than Ford. I don't know if he'll get the rookie treatment there in Cleveland, but I said I have concerns about Cleveland. I'm not reaching up to make sure I get Dylan Sampson because of the Cleveland offense. I don't think he's the only person in a real bad offense that we talked about that I'm interested in is Kamara, just because the workload is so substantial and we've seen how good he can be. I don't think Dylan Sampson's suddenly Kamara. And Jamie, still the conductor of the Roschon hype train around here. We hold out hope, my friend. Joe wants Woody Marks way over Chubb at this point. I mean, I said I like Woody Marks. You like Chubb. I don't know about way over. I don't know if I want Woody Marks way over anybody.
I mean, again, they're both late dart throws that we're looking at here. So,
okay, next question: who is one guy with a 4th round ADP or lower who you're not leaving any of your drafts without? So Joe went back to his love of DeAndre Swift, which we know he likes. No, let's hear your first. I shouldn't give my own answer. Who do you like in the 4th round or lower of ADP?
4th round. Oof. I'm kind of looking at, again, these are, to me, they're not dart throws, but they're just depth guys at this point. I'd be looking at any of those running backs we just talked about, really, like a Ford, Roschon, Chubb, and Sampson are right there. Honestly, maybe like a Kareem Hunt could be an interesting selection. We don't know what's going on with Rice. Hunt is reliable, especially in the passing game. So there's going to be some targets there. Mahomes is going to pass it around and, spread the ball around. So he's not going to be a great, every week kind of play, but I feel like he could be there. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if there's really any of these guys I'm not leaving my draft without. They're all just kind of guys to me.
4th round, I will go. So I love the Jalen Waddle. We've talked about him a few times on here. I love the target volume. I love the fact that Jonnu's gone. I think a lot of those go to Waddle. So I like Waddle in that range. I get George Pickens a lot in that range too. I just think he was, before the show started, we were talking about how Luis Robert with Chicago finally looks good the last few weeks because there was a chance he was going to get traded and now he's going to go back to not caring. I don't think George Pickens always put out a lot of effort. If you watched a lot of George Pickens with Pittsburgh, I don't think he loved run blocking very much, and that was asked to do a lot in Pittsburgh. Getting him in Dallas, I think this is going to be the best version of George Pickens, while now he does not pull the top corner all the time. In fact, he should get pretty easy coverage with CeeDee Lamb on the other side. And I think Dak's still good enough that we're going to get the best version of George Pickens. So I get him a lot in the around pick 50 range. And it's not all the running backs in that range are fine to me, but I usually have already got at least 2 by that point. So I don't typically shoot for a lot of running backs in that area. So that's typically in a spot where I'm getting receivers.
Yeah. So I will say that bad on me. I did have my ADP stuck on the running back tab. That's why I was like, oh, these guys are just kind of guys.
I mean, I was gonna say, like, I mean, if you like those late guys, you can go beyond the 4th round. Like,
why not?
Your choice, dude. Like,
no, but yeah, now that I have the entire player list right in front of me again, yeah, obviously I like Waddle. I agree with the targets. You know, a little bit beforehand, you know, I love me some Devonta Smith, skinny Batman. He's currently sitting at 46th overall in Fantasy Pros. I talked about Hampton already, you know, but guys that I don't want to necessarily leave without in this range now, I do like Dave Montgomery, and I do like Hawkinson. I think, you know, he's in line for a solid bounce back after the injury. So those are some of the you know, closer to 4th round guys that I can now.
Some of the other guys here in the comments that are commenting names around there. Jamie likes Cortland Sutton. You already talked about Cortland Sutton.
Yep.
I think this is generalization of this. Now, Jamie likes Khalil Shakir around pick 80. I said, like, my thing on Shakir is I don't know if that's 80, like, what the real upside is. I think he can deliver on that. I just don't know. Like, when they get in the red zone, I think they're just going to run the ball so much that I don't know if there's a big blow-up potential for Shakir. I just think he's going to be, like, kind of like Jacoby Myers, someone that you just set it and forget it, and he's going to deliver something, but it's not going to be blow-up potential there for him.
Yeah, and I mean, right in that Shakir range, a few spots back, Stephon Diggs. I mean, he could be interesting. We know that he's a bit of a, you know, diva, if we will, a head case, whichever one you want to use. But we've all talked about Drake May and, you know, the ceiling that we feel like he has, and I think a lot of that's gonna, you know, flourish with Diggs. So he's another one that I might look at a little bit later there.
Cool.
All right. So next question here is back to the receivers. Would you consider trading away Amon Ra St Brown or Nico Collins for Marvin Harrison Jr., even if you're a contender? Marvin Harrison has clearly been putting in work, and if Arizona can scheme up some better looks for him this year, I feel like he could explode. This is the question asker guy. Joe's response to this was, I would have to get a good piece back with Harrison to trade away proven talent like ARSB or Nico, but it wouldn't be out of the question. Joe agrees with the asker in that he thinks the future is bright for Marvin Harrison Jr. Corey, what say you?
Okay, so there's a lot of parts to this question. Do I think the future is bright for Marvin Harrison Jr.? Yes, I think the future is bright for Marvin Harrison Jr. I do not think, like, we consider this a massive disappointing rookie season, and he finished, I think, as the wide receiver like 28 on the season as a rookie. It's just that we were drafting him at the 2nd round, and he wasn't Malik Neighbors, and he wasn't Brian Thomas. But guess what? Those guys are fantastic, amazing players already, and Marvin Harrison might just be really good. But I wouldn't be shocked if next year we're taking Marvin Harrison where we thought we took him last year at the 2nd round. So I think Marvin Harrison's going to be awesome. Would I trade Nico Collins and Amon Ra St Brown to get him? Well, I've said I have some concerns about Amon Ra St Brown. I think Nico Collins is probably ahead of him for me, and I like Nico Collins more than Amon Ra St Brown. But I'm probably not trading either of those guys straight up for Marvin Harrison Jr. What is, like, okay, Marvin Harrison hits his 100th percentile outcome this season. Is it better than Nico Collins or Amon Ra St Brown? Probably not. They're not old. They're not. It's not like I'm assuming this is a dynasty league, and so it's not like Amon Ra St Brown is going on his age 30 season. He is 20. Where is it in here? He's October. He's 25, so he'll be 26. And Nico Collins is 26. It's not like, I mean, you're gonna get 3-4 good solid years out of both those guys, and you might get 7-8 great years out of Marvin Harrison, but it feels like a lateral move, and you need to get more than that if you're trading those guys. Like Marvin Harrison plus something, like Joe kind of said, is my thoughts too.
Yeah, I agree with both you guys on that. I already just fawned over Nico Collins, so I wouldn't be trading him regardless, especially for Harrison, and possibly not even Harrison and another piece, depending on what it is. But I just like Nico far away ahead of Harrison. I went after Harrison last year in a couple of leagues and was grossly disappointed, even with stacking him with Kyler Murray. They both were not very good for me. So I have a little bit of a, disdain bias for that. But
is that like opposite FOMO? Is that like the reverse FOMO?
Yes, it is. It is. It's
like
nope.
You've already missed out on a good year.
I already missed out. So now I'm afraid to go back. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that. But in general, I would move St. Brown for Harrison above Nico, and
yep.
I would still also want something else, like maybe a mid-tier running back if I needed some depth or something like that.
Like a Pacheco, like that type of a late range, or
yeah, that could work.
Yeah.
I mean, again, he's going to get the work there. Aside from maybe some of the passes that, again, I feel like Hunt could snake, but I think I'd be comfortable with that. I mean, maybe like I don't know if it would get thrown in, but like a Chuba Hubbard would be awesome.
Oh, heck yeah,
I just don't see that happening unless I threw in another piece with Amon Ra. Maybe do like a little 2 for 2 or something.
So I actually had Marvin Harrison in a dynasty league. I drafted, I think, second last year. It's a super flex league. And right after I drafted him, I got this incredible, 3 first rounds, 2 second round picks, trade offer plus Jalen Waddle. And I'm like, oh man, this dude could be amazing. But I'm like, I like Jalen. So I took it. And I ended up with I drafted Ted McMillan this year and Omari Hampton this year. And I have Joe Millen and I have 2 more first round picks off it. I'm like, whatever. Okay. So that was the only time I ever had a chance to get him, but I couldn't turn that down. Like, if you're gonna give me 3 first round picks, 2 second round picks, and Jalen Waddle for him, like, okay, I'll take that.
Yeah.
Joe was out. We're back to holding it down.
Yeah. All right. Peace, Joe. It's been real. Go back to your vacation on the sunny beaches of humidity. Anyway, just kidding. Right. We love you.
Yep.
All right.
I am up here. We are talking about Rashee Rice. Assuming Rashee Rice is hit with a 5-game suspension, which I guess is just a guess because we don't really know yet. Who is the worst wide receiver you take ahead of him in a PPR redraft league? And the guy who asked the question, he'd mentioned Calvin Ridley as someone that he thought he would take ahead of Rashee Rice pending the suspension. Joe thinks a 3 to 4 game ban is more likely, but Ridley is fair. He's considering Jerry Jeudy, but he's not likely to take Rice at all. Drafting suspended players is tough unless you can slide them into an injured reserve slot. I mean, I agree with all of that, I guess. But who is someone that you'd be willing to take, or who's the worst receiver you'd be willing to take ahead of Rashee Rice?
Worst? The worst I would take is Chris Olave because he sucks. But that's true. No, I would. I'd probably be comfortable with Ridley or Jeudy, but I might even go as far down as Rome Odunze. A couple spots down, receiver wise. I do look for a nice big step forward for him as the wide receiver 2 in Chicago. Their offense has always kind of geared around 2 main guys, but he was included enough last year to show me that he's got plenty of upside. So I definitely like Odunze this year too.
I kind of like Joe. I'm probably just not going to get any Rashee Rice, and it's just the fear of the unknown. When he's on the field, I think he'll be good. I also I don't know where it settles with Xavier Worthy and highly Isaiah Pacheco again, and where like Rashee Rice when he was there last year, it was a very beginning of his career Xavier Worthy, an injured Isaiah Pacheco, and Travis Kelce, who we've talked about is slowing down, but will still get his targets too. So I'm not all that into Rashee Rice. Like we talking about Khalil Shakir, I'll take Khalil Shakir. Depending on the way my team is built, I'll take Khalil Shakir over Rashee Rice, and I was just kind of poo-pooing him. So I don't know if that's the worst. I'm probably going to take Rashee Rice over Stephon Diggs because he's got his 4-game injury issues too that I think about. If I hear that Diggs is healthy, I'll probably take Diggs over Rashee Rice, but that's kind of the range it is for me. I'll take him over Cooper Kupp, who I have concerns about, Jaden Reed. So that's 40 picks later than he's going right now per our ADP. And that's kind of the range where I get him. So I just know I won't have him. But do you have a guess for how long he's going to be suspended? Joe thinks 3 to 4 games. I'm kind of assuming it's 4 games at least. That's kind of my thoughts. I
think it's going to be at least 4. I don't know if I feel like it'd be more than 5. I feel like that's kind of the tops for me for what it would be.
I mean, if you're getting 5-6 games, if you're going to get a 6-game suspension, that is essentially half the fantasy season. Like so if you're telling me that I have to take a 5th round pick for a guy I'm going to miss half the year on, no, not a chance.
Yeah. I mean, that hurts a lot. The only benefit is that KC's bye week is week 10. So if you miss out on him for 6 weeks, you got 3 weeks for him to kind of get up to speed, then the bye week, and then hope that he can make a good push for your fantasy playoffs. I don't think I can, be happy doing that and taking that risk.
Last question.
All right. Brings us to the last and possibly best question of the night. And this one hits a little close to home for me, and I'll explain that in a minute. But the question asked of Joe is, what's the optimum core temperature to reach for a normal-sized rotisserie chicken? Joe, of course, went with the chalk answer of 165 degrees. I'm assuming he means Fahrenheit. So what do you think? What's your optimum core temperature for the rotisserie chicken?
Well, y'all have to realize I'm an adult child who is a terrible cook basically at everything. Like you give me like a grill and I'm just going to be like, okay, here you go, man. Like, and then I will work to the side and get someone else to do it for me. So my optimum core temperature is whatever the deli cooks it at that I buy them from and then eat them, because I'm sorry, I'm not making my own chicken. I don't trust myself to not make myself sick. So that's my correct answer on the optimum core temperature. You do great, Viking Village Deli, which is about 8 miles from where I live. It is a very good rotisserie chicken.
Nice. I hear Costco has a really good one as well. The grocery store by me is a Martin's, which is basically a Giant in some locations. They also have good ones. But for me, this hits home because my first actual job, aside from babysitting, was at a place called The Rotisserie. And it was a family business where we obviously had rotisserie chicken. They had their own seasoning blend that they put into the birds when we cooked them, and they came out, and I hate the term, but chef's kiss. They were so good every time. And the restaurant was similar to a Boston Market minus the commercial feel. And they also had fantastic, soup recipes from the family, and all the soups were awesome. But for me, the rotisserie chicken, I guess I would potentially go up to 160-ish. I would keep it a little low. And the question asker also said here, I thought he had a different comment here. Oh yeah, here we go. Someone else chimed in on the question, said, "Got to spatchcock that bad boy. Your thighs and wings should be cooked to 165 before pulling, and the breasts to around 150, then let it rest. If you cook the whole thing to 165, the breasts are going to be sawdust. And nobody in their right mind likes sawdusty breasts." So I am with this guy, again, from what I learned in my early days as a register / waiter guy at the rotisserie.
That is such a fantastic story. So much better than my answer. Jamie agrees with the commenter here. Pull it off the grill, 155, let it rust, because carryover cooking will continue to raise the temperature. Y'all know, way better than I do. I said, just drive down to the store. That was fun. That was fun. The AMAs were fun there.
Yeah. Thanks to everybody for putting in your questions to Joe, and thanks to Joe for leaving it to us, because we're just at an hour now. All we have left is the news. So this is a quality, fast-moving show.
Fantasy six-pack hour when Joe's not here.
Yes, but we hit the points and move on.
If you are, just a quick reminder here, if you like these type of AMA things, join up the Fantasy Six-Pack Discord, and you can get these type of questions answered all the time from all of us. But let us go to the news. Quick little break here. To the news. We have, what do we got? 6-7 pieces of news here. I'll do the Joe thing, rip through them, then I'll throw some to you. I'll answer some. First one, Darnell Mooney, wide receiver, Atlanta Falcons, shoulder injury, gonna miss a few weeks. Joe Mixon, we talked about him a few times, currently on the non-football injury list to be out extended period of time with a, quote, frustrating foot injury. We've already talked about, we're a little worried there. Treylon Burks broke his collarbone and then was subsequently waived. They got a injury settlement, and he is off of the Tennessee Titans. Isaiah Likely, you mentioned him earlier. Small foot fracture. Sounds like he's going to miss about a month, but should be ready to go. Zach Moss, gone from Cincinnati, off the team, released. As he's off, Noah Fant is in. We talked about him being released by Seattle last week or a couple weeks ago. Expected to sign back with the Bengals. Both sides came to terms. And Terry McLaurin, about an hour before we started recording, as he continues to hold out for his $30 million a year. Now he's ready to go outside of Washington to look for it.
Yes. I will start with that one because I heard that basically as soon as I got in the car to leave work and head home. And it shocked me, but it didn't shock me. And, McLaurin to me has been, the face of Washington for the past few years, and until last year when Daniels, rose to his early stardom, we'll call it. But Terry was his guy too. So, the fact that he's holding out for all this money, I mean, maybe he deserves it, maybe he doesn't. I don't know. That's not for me to decide. I think he is a very good receiver. And he showed last year that he is that and possibly more with Daniels. But the fact that he's requesting a trade out of Washington now is it just seems like it's gone to this level that I didn't think it was going to get to. But here we are. So TBD on that, if he actually gets traded or if this is just a ploy by him and his agent to, get closer to the number he wants, if not get the number he wants. So good luck to him in his endeavors and contract seeking and or trade seeking.
My question there, and my question's always been, okay, he wants a trade. Who is trading for him and giving him a $30 million contract? I don't see anybody doing that. More power to you. You're awesome, Terry McLaurin. I've loved you your whole career. Go try to get your bag, but $30 million is a lot of money. You mentioned Cortland Sutton. I think he got like 4 years, $90 million, which is what, 22 million a year, something like that. I think Terry McLaurin could ask for that type of a contract, but $30 million is a big ask. So we'll see on him.
I mean, this is the problem that we see every year, though, and we saw it this year with all the the DNs, edge guys, with Crosby and Garrett and everyone else that wanted their money, and they got it. Like each next one was getting $100,000 more or $1 million more or whatever it was, just to be the guy that was the top earner at the position. TJ Watt was another one. Hendrickson, I think, just got paid too. Speaking of Cincy, so we see it all the time. Garrett was the similar cog here because he wanted to be traded as well, and then he ultimately, locked it in and was like, "Oh yeah, I love it here," blah blah blah. And it's like, yeah, you love it because you're getting a shit ton of money now. So yeah, anybody could love it in Cleveland for that. And speaking of, they had just showed not Cleveland, but Canton, the park. I think it's Centennial Park, where the Fantasy Football Expo has their big Friday night party with all the analysts and fans that come out to the expo. So that will be next weekend. I unfortunately will not be there this year, but Joe will be there, and I'm sure he will be able to answer more questions there. Probably not as informative as the two of us, but yeah.
I mean, that's always the case. That's always the case. We're always the stars. He's
exactly.
just let's see. I'll take some of these quick. I'll take a couple of these quick. I said we already talked about Joe Mixon. I'm not overly concerned yet. I just think whether it's Nick Chubb or Woody Marks, take your shot late. Darnell Mooney is part of the reason that I'm still a little more in on Kyle Pitts probably than I probably should be. But I think it's just basically another wheels up. Drake London's going to be awesome. He's going to get so many balls thrown his way. And Darnell Mooney will probably be fine for the season anyways, but I'm just so in on what Drake London's going to offer. Traylon Burks, congrats, man. Have a nice life. You made a lot of money. You didn't do a whole lot in the NFL. That's really the dream. Go make your cash. Zach Moss, I assume he's done. I don't think we'll see Zach Moss anywhere. He had that bad neck injury last season.
Yeah.
I just think we'll probably never get to see him again.
I would be surprised that, if someone took him on. Unless he is, fully healthy, then maybe as a depth guy or something and see what he can offer. But I don't think anyone's really looking to jump for him. But keeping it with Cincy there, Noah Fant. He was my backup, possibly second, maybe third tight end for Scott Fish, and right after I drafted him, he immediately got cut. So that was awesome. And, I was just excited to know somebody's got to go after him. Someone's going to pick him up. And, the fact that Cincy did is great. We know that they're a pass first offense. Chase Brown might dip into that a little bit more this year, but, Joe Burrow wants to throw the ball. He wants to throw the ball to Jamar Chase most of the time, and then sometimes T. Higgins. But, I think with Fant and Gesicki there, it just gives him more options, and it makes this offense, even more dynamic. So I'm interested to see what Fant can do in the offense. So, yeah.
It's a good landing spot there for him. Like you said, since he's good, I think he can get ahead of Gesicki. And then just to piggyback the last one here, the last tight end story, Isaiah Likely. The fractured foot, they're going to do surgery on it. It's said that they think he'll be out up to 6 weeks, which is leaning up on the start of the regular season. So you might miss him a week or two. And he's still, I was about to just did terrible pun on I like Likely. I think he's fine, but I also am not, he's the second tight end on his own team, on a team that wants to run the ball. So I know I think there's just always someone in a draft that likes him more than I move into it, because I don't know where the upside is that he is as good as he was the first 2 weeks, but that required them to never throw the ball to Mark Andrews. And as much as I don't draft Mark Andrews, I think he's going to get the ball thrown to him. And I think, I said I don't like Zay Flowers, but I think he's ahead of Isaiah Likely. And they want to run the ball with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. So now you're at best option 5. You're probably behind Rashad Bateman. You're option 6 on a team. Pass. So he's very talented. When Mark Andrews retires, I'll be all in. Until then, nope.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, I do like Isaiah, and his initials are I like Lee instead of I likey. But yeah, I would still go after him and hope that the injury will still steer people away from him a little bit more. So hopefully he falls a little farther. According to Harbaugh, he thinks that he's going to undergo the surgery and has a chance to be ready for week 1. So again, the issue with that though is he misses all the preseason, and I feel like he would have had a decent run in the preseason had he been healthy, because Mark Andrews is the guy. So maybe those first few weeks are a little bit of a preseason for him, and they've got at Buffalo, at home against Cleveland, then Detroit Monday night, then at KC, then home against Houston and Rams, and then they have their bye week. So it'll be interesting.
It'll be interesting. Like we said, we are done. 1 hour, 10 minutes, no Joe. Great show here. We got it done. Thank you, AJ, for hanging out with me tonight, answering some questions. Thank you all for the questions. Once again, join up, fantasy6pack.net. You can ask these type of questions in the Discord. You can get our advice. You can get Joe's advice. You can get all these guys in the comments. Jamie's in there. Kyle's in there. It is a fun time. Anything else you want to say tonight, AJ?
Nope. Let's cut it. Bye.
Let's cut it. Peace.